The film was inspired by true events. How did the project come about?
Well, I was sent the screenplay by Jonathan Fernandez by the producer Bill Tytler. I was looking for something. My film City Island had opened, and I was looking to attach myself to something that I hadn't written because I usually write my own projects. And most of what I was getting sent were these kind of tepid romantic comedy, which is a genre that I think is a little bit dead. But that seemed to be all people were thinking of me for. And I've always loved true crime. I've always loved New York City true crime movies. And when I read the script, I saw that it resembled a movie that's been a huge inspiration to me for years, Sidney Lumet's Dog Day Afternoon. Because it was a story that was a real crime, but it was not a real crime that shook the earth. In fact, it kind of came and went in a blink, but it had all of these big operatic elements that had how they affected everyone's lives. And that's what I thought Jonathan had found in finding the story of Tommy and Rosie. So I signed on at that point, and then, the rest was a really slow, laborious history.
As those things go.
Yeah.
And you?
Me, I was in my office playing Angry Birds in my underwear, saying, nobody knows me. And then my agent said, I have a script from Raymond De Felitta, and I said, De for what? No, but I remembered I had met you. I met you at a friend's house, and I remember your movie City Island I enjoyed. So I got the script, and I read they offered me the Griffin Dunn role. And I loved the script. I remember the story. I grew up in that neighborhood, so I remember when it happened, and it was an amazing, crazy story then. So there was a very uniqueness to this script. I didn't respond to that role as much, so I suggested, is there possible I could play the reporter, because that seemed a little more interesting. And you took to that. We had a meeting. You came in a little drunk. You were drunk.
It was after lunch.
Yeah, it was after lunch.
It was after lunch,
yeah.
so it was okay.
He drunk. He said a few foul things, and I said, I like this guy. And then here we are.
You're both from New York, correct?
I am.
Yeah.
And you're from New
Yeah.
York as well? Okay, so being New Yorkers, what is it about the city that you would like audiences to take away?
The other thing, though, really that I'd like you to take away is that New York and this happens to New York every 20 or 30 years, it turns into a very different place than it was. And New York in the early 90s was nothing like New York is now, for the most part. There were no lattes, there were not a lot of prams bumping into each other. It was a very different place if you just look at any raw footage of, New York 80s, 90s. And we tried to capture that in the opening title sequence. We used stock footage just to quickly take you into what that world was then. And it's fun to know that New York evolves that way.
If you had to choose one thing, what appealed to you most about the project?
Well, I'll tell you. What appealed most to me initially, which is not what ultimately appealed most, was at the very end of my film City Island, we had a shot where Andy Garcia is on a movie set and he gets shot by a guy, and that was the first time I had ever shot any action. All of my films are always, but this time I had. So when we shot it, I think we had 3-4 cameras, we had stunt guys, we had him all with the plugs and I yelled action, the whole world erupted in madness, and I had never had so much fun on a set. So I said to my agent, that was great, I want to make a movie like that. And she said, you're never going to get hired to do that. You have to find something of your own, because that's not what they're going to think of you as. So initially, when I found out there was this kind of action, strange, dark comedy, I went, wow, that could be something that I could finally get to actually get gunshots. And then, of course, I got into the script, and I got into the true crime, and I got into the real story of Tommy and Rosie, and I found that it appealed to me on the level that all the other material I've ever been involved with appeals to me on, which is just that it's deeply human and deeply sad and beautiful. It's about love and the kind of the choices that we make in life.
Also, you were in that scene with Andy Garcia. You were in that scene, right?
Briefly, yeah. I was at the aftermath.
That's what
I was.
That's
that's what I liked about it. Yeah.
But I just like the story. I mean, it all starts with the story. Do you respond to the script? But then everything else has to work. You have to like the person and believe in his vision, and then the fact of the rest of the cast working with Michael and Nina. I couldn't say no. It just seemed too good.
All right, one more question. The film has very intense moments, but it also has brief moments of comedy. Did you find it challenging to blend those two genres?
I think that what comedy the film has always came from the truth, and so does whatever the intense moments are. So all we were really ever looking to do was tell the truth, find the humanity in it, and sometimes it's the situations that make the truth so funny. And when you're working with great actors, they know that it's not about like, okay, I'm supposed to be funny here. They just kind of look at the truth and go play the reality of it. So in a sense, it's not, I wouldn't say challenging. I think it's just about a little bit of discipline and going like, guys, let's always just be honest here, and it'll do the work for us.
But it's also walking the line with the funny gangster, because the funny gangster all of a sudden isn't the threatening gangster anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you have to be able to do that, to be funny and still have that intensity.
Yeah, the funny gangster can very quickly turn into the silly gangster.
Yeah, they go with
and then
cartoon,
and then
yeah.
it's no good. Then I'm not interested at all. So
Right.
yeah.